Okay, it looks like we are at the top of the hour. So welcome everyone. My name is Jennifer Tobin and I am the Assistant Director of the Natural Hazard Center here at the University of Colorado Boulder. I would like to welcome you all to this informational question and answer session for our fifth call for proposals for the Weather Ready Research Award Program, which is focused on the flood ready research and data publication. And before we jump in, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the entire team at the Natural Hazards Center, as well as our partners at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for helping to build this call and to make this award funding possible. We are so very proud of this program and the many ways that it's already contributed to improving knowledge and practice, and we look forward to what the next round of proposals will bring. And just so you know, this meeting is being recorded so we can post it back to our special call page for anyone who could not attend in person. And I invite everyone to put questions in the chat box as we move along so we can make sure and answer those in the Q&A portion of the presentation. Okay, and Katie, you're recording, right? I didn't see the pop-up.
Yes, it's
Okay,
going.
perfect. Okay, so our objectives today are to learn about the Weather Ready Research Award Program, to discuss NOAA NSF collaborative support for this program, to review the current call for proposals, to discuss deliverables and key considerations, and finally, and most importantly, we want to hear from all of you and answer any questions you might have in preparation for applying for this award funding. So the Weather Ready Research Award Program was first established in 2020 and is generously funded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Weather Program Office, the National Weather Service, National Severe Storms Laboratory, and the National Science Foundation. This is one of 4 research award programs at the Natural Hazards Center, and I encourage you to check out the others as well. To date, we have released 6 calls for Weather Ready research, including this one. So the first 3 calls that you see there in gray are closed now, and the next 3 are actually open for proposals. And so for more information about past and current Weather Ready research calls, you can go to our website, which Katie will drop in the link in the chat. So you can all access that as well. So now I would like to introduce our partners at NOAA who work closely with our Natural Hazards Center team to develop each Weather Ready call. Allison Agather, Gino Iesco, Jonathan Moat, and Cassandra Shivers-Williams are instrumental in helping to develop the proposal, to set the call criteria, and to carry out the review process. And we're so thankful for their hard work and continued support to make this program possible. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cassandra to say a few words about NOAA's vision for the Flood Ready call we will be discussing today. Cassandra, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jen. I'm so glad to be here and excited to virtually see everyone. So I just want to emphasize that we really appreciate the academic community's partnership on these topics. We are keenly aware that NOAA cannot meet its mission alone. And I just also want to emphasize that this particular call, as Jen will get into in more detail, is focused on inland flooding. We know that coastal flooding and storm surge are both important topics and have received recent attention. And as such, we've identified that we have a gap in understanding for inland flooding risks. And so that is the particular focus for this call. Back to you, Jen.
Thanks, Cass. Let me go next slide here. There we go. Okay, so like Kat said, this call is for flood ready research and data publication. And oh, my slides just skipped. Hold on a second. Okay, and this call came about because of the fact that inland flood research is limited. So when extreme events such as riverine flooding, flash flooding, and urban flooding threaten communities, it is paramount that researchers collect and share perishable data with decision makers to help improve outcomes for future events. Okay. And there are 3 tracks for funding for this call. Tracks 1 and 2 support awards in the range of $2,500 to $10,000. And track 1 supports research on activities that take place before an inland flood, such as inland flood forecasting, gauging risk perception, preparedness, and mitigation. Track 2 supports research activities that occur during and after flooding, such as issuing weather alerts and warnings, evacuation decision-making and behavior, and inland flood impacts, displacement, and recovery. And for this option, the flood event that you want to study must have occurred on or after December 1st, 2022. So we're looking at more recent events. And then finally, track 3 will support awards of $1,200 or $2,500. The $1,200 awards are for proposals that plan to publish research protocols or instruments only, while the $2,500 awards are for proposals that plan to publish both data and research instruments or protocols. Tracks 1 and 2 require that awardees submit information through our online form, as well as download a proposal template and submit a 5-page single-space proposal following all of the guidelines outlined on our submissions page. For track 3 submissions, you are only required to fill out an online form. You don't have to have a full written proposal. And all proposals are due by 5 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on Monday, March 11th, 2024. Okay, so for this call, our funders are interested in research that focuses on how diverse community members perceive inland flood risks, prepare for inland flood risks, understand inland flood observations and forecasts, receive inland flood alerts and warnings, make protective action decisions, and respond to and recover from the impacts of an inland flood event. And more specifically, we are encouraging proposals focused on topics such as methodologies for data collection, public perception, social vulnerability, and societal impacts, community resilience and preparedness, and economic valuation. And each of these 4 areas are described in much more detail on the website. So I do encourage you to go back if you have any questions and read those detailed descriptions. That is not limited to what we have there in that list, but we are encouraging research around those topical areas. So when designing your research proposal, there are some key considerations that researchers should be aware of. First, please make sure your proposal includes a clear timeline for data collection, analysis, publication, and report writing. The final report for tracks 1 and 2 will be due within 6 months of award activation, while the publication tracks have a 3-month window from activation to publication. And given the short time frame, researchers may need to begin collecting data prior to funding being issued. We cannot extend deliverable deadlines for delays due to funding. IRB approval or exemption must be submitted before data collection can begin if you are doing human subjects research. The lead investigator, as designated in the proposal, must be from an academic institution based in a U.S. state, territory, or tribal nation. Any of the co-authors, however, can be from non-academic organizations and outside of the U.S. Awards can only be distributed to up to 3 people. So when you create your budget, you can assign up to 3 people to receive part of that money, which you will indicate in your award agreement. Payments will be sent directly to award recipients and not your university. These funds are awarded to individuals and will not go through any university processing. You'll receive a check directly from the University of Colorado Boulder. And awardees will be solely responsible for any tax reporting and ramifications associated with receiving this money from the University of Colorado Boulder, and they will report payments to taxing jurisdictions. Okay. So project deliverables, by Monday, September 16th, 2024, track 1 and 2 awardees must submit a 20-page double-spaced report summarizing their research findings. Prior to submission, we do ask that you please download the report template that we provide on our website and closely follow all of the submission guidelines. And then for track 3, awardees must publish who publish data or research instruments on DesignSafe must submit a data publication checklist and a publication template to the Natural Hazards Center by no later than June 14th, 2024. And those checklists and the template are available on our website as well for you to download. Okay, so thanks for listening. That was really brief, but I am now happy to turn it over to your question and answer portion of the meeting and hear from all of you. I'll go ahead and check the chat box to see if anybody's left any comments, but if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand or come off of mute to ask your question. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box, so does anybody have any questions for me or for Cass from NOAA?
I think there were questions in the chat about if multiple ones could be done.
Yes, so okay, so I see Katie has put in there, can you apply to multiple tracks for the same call? You absolutely can, but you have to submit a different proposal for each request for funding. So if you wanted to submit to a track 1, you could submit a proposal for that. And then you could also submit to a track 3 to publish that data or your instruments or protocols. So just submit a different proposal for each track that you're applying to. Any other questions? And I'll go ahead and stop sharing too, so we can see each other a little bit better. Very helpful, Jason says. What is inland flooding for the sake of the proposal? For the definition of inland flooding for the purposes of this call is basically any flooding that's occurring that's not due to a coastal hazard or event. So it's not coastal flooding, nothing that's due to storm surges or hurricanes that are pushing water in from the coast, but rather like river flooding or rainstorms that cause flooding, anything that's happening where the water is inland. And Cass, is there a different definition or addition to what I just said that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that sounds perfect.
Dielza, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. That's a beautiful name. Do you know of international students who are not CU Boulder? Do you know if international students who are not at CU Boulder can apply? If you're at a US-based institution, you absolutely can apply for funding as a graduate student. And you can be the PI on the project, but you have to be at a US-based institution. If you are at a different institution in a different country, then somebody else has to be the lead investigator on that proposal. You're welcome. Okay, any other questions? We have a small group today, so. Mary asks, what resources are available if you are going to track 3 on data publication, especially if it is the first time you're publishing with Design Safe? Thank you for that great question, Mary. We do have on our website, you're going to have a link to Design Safe. We're going to have a data publication template that you can download, and it'll give you step-by-step instructions of how to publish data on Design Safe. And then you'll have a checklist that you can also follow and fill out that will help to guide you. There's also resources at our and Katie has put the guidelines in there right now. There's also resources available through Converge, such as training modules and check sheets and other research resources, which are all linked out on our website as well.
Do you have to refresh your Converge previous certification or training that you've had in order to do this application? Or could you use Converge experiences that you've or lessons that you've done in the past?
Yeah, it's not required that you complete
Okay.
additional new training modules or anything for this special call. I know you've already completed a lot yourself, Leonard. So what you've done already is great. If you would like to do more, however, because we're always releasing new training modules. If there's any other ones that interest you, feel free to follow those as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I actually had a question.
Yes, Sarah.
Yeah. So if we are, for example, if we are already gathering, for example, if we already got a very small grant from somewhere else to collect some inland flooding data, would we be able to apply for example, like the track 2 funding to analyze the data?
That is a great question, and absolutely, the answer is yes. We highly encourage people who maybe have funding for a different part of the project to apply for funding, as long as you have enough data collection that you could meet the deliverable of writing a report as a deliverable for this call. For the Natural Hazards Center, we are completely okay with offering supplemental funding for your project.
Okay, and then thank you. And then just a follow-up. So if, for example, if it were to be like next round of a survey, then I would be able to apply for that too.
Yeah, and I would just take a little bit of time to explain what you've already done in your research project and the parts that have already been funding, but spend most of the time in the proposal dedicated to what this money will support in terms of the next phase of the project, and then what the deliverables and everything will be in the timeline for that.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And opposite of that too, Sarah, just so you know, a lot of people do get these awards as kind of seed funding, where they do the first stage of a project and then go on to apply for additional funds from the National Science Foundation and other funders to continue the research. So both of those options are totally okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next question, will applications be considered on a first come, first served basis? So all the applications are due at the same time. So no, so it doesn't matter if you get it in early or not, because we will be reviewing once the call for proposals window closes, and we'll review them all at the same time and judge them accordingly based on who submitted. And we'll award as much as we have funding available for. And the due date, like Katie just posted, thank you, is 5 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on Monday, March 11th for those proposals to be submitted.
Yeah, and to Mary's question about why we're focusing specifically on inland flooding, there's been a recent amount of work on coastal flooding and storm surge and other kinds of hazards like Jen described earlier. So this particular call is focused on inland flooding to try to address some of the gaps that we have in our understanding regarding those hazards.
Thanks, Cass. Tiffany asks, for track 2, is post-flood inundation modeling an accepted activity? Ooh, Cass, do you want to answer that?
That's a very interesting question. I would say in terms of your modeling, as long as we're talking about social science related as compared to physical science modeling, I would think that would totally be okay. I will say for track 2, I believe that there are parameters around which events you can study. Like, so they have to have happened in a certain time frame. So just be mindful of that. And all that's detailed in the information that Katie's been populating in the chat. So just read through the call.
Yeah. Perfect. The next question is, can the geographic focus of the proposal be outside of the US? And the answer to that is no. We would like to focus on events that are happening within the US for this call. You're welcome. Any other questions? Thanks, Lori. She says it's a great question. Okay, I know it's a small group of us today, so our questions are probably just about over here, unless anybody has any last thoughts or anything they want to share about their research that they might propose or anything. I'll give 10 more seconds for anyone to jump in and share. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, but please do know that, oh,
Jason has a
there's another
question.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so oh, my chat box went away and I did that. Jason says, track 1 is not event specific, right? Studies on preparedness and mitigation can be hypothetical or generalized. That is correct. Yes, yes. Track 1 is meant for those pre-flooding research questions that might look at those topics that you suggested. Great. Any other questions? Okay, well, you're all welcome to contact me at any point as you're developing your proposals, or if you get awarded as you're conducting your research. You can contact me at has.research.awards@colorado.edu. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us, and we look forward to reading your proposals. Thank you. Goodbye.